child's well-being, and that person turns out to be a drunk or a criminal, or that they just don't give a damn about your kids. Or maybe in this case, like a former child care worker in Indiana, you hope that she's not a crackhead who lets her 5-year-old son smoke crack as well. That's bad. Andrea Wilkie, a former child care worker at the Julian House, a home for abused women, was arrested after her 5-year-old son tested positive for crack. Let's stop right there. Tell me a worse statement than that. A worse sentence than that. Her 5-year-old son tested positive for crack. The boy's grandmother noticed that he was, quote, acting funny, and asked him why. He said that he took mommy's, quote, medicine. The grandmother took him to the hospital, and he tested positive for crack. The mother admitted that she smoked rock from a homemade bong that consisted of a baby food jar with a glass tube. When she came back to the table, the kid was holding the pipe. "Come on, let me do it," he asked, according to the mother. She then lit the pipe and stopped when the kid had smoke coming out of his mouth. Excellent idea. A regular Mary Poppins. Listen, probably a lot of you have let your kids have a little sip of beer, maybe a little taste of some wine, a nice long drag off of the glass deke. That could be the worst thing I've ever heard. A mother sharing her crack with her 5-year-old. I've never smoked crack. I don't know. I've always assumed it's one of those things that if you try it even once, you're like addicted for the rest of your life. So I know, let's pass the glass deke over to the 5-year-old kid. After all, he did want to try some. He did want some of mommy's medicine. Crack is not a sip of beer or a taste of wine. It's crack. Crack's crack. Write that down, put that on a piece of wood, and hang that on the wall. Crack's crack. Crack's crack. You know, it's always like, well, at least it's not crack. Well, in this case, it is crack. I mean, isn't that the one thing you always measure things against? Well, at least it's not crack. I mean, it could have been worse. She could have given him crack. Well, she did. Crack's crack. A Child Protective Services care worker deemed the case, quote, horrendous. Really? You think? I guess it could have been worse. I guess she could have shot the kid up with some heroin. I guess. Maybe that's worse, or maybe I'm just splitting hairs. I don't know that it is worse. Listen to this. Caseworker Carl Brizzi, quote, sharing a crack pipe with your 5-year-old son is no way to bond. Well, I don't know. It isn't? I mean, how do we, if you're going to tell somebody that, what's that say? I don't know, we all bond with our kids. I've got a 3-year-old son myself. I know what we do. We play baseball in the backyard. We watch boxing on TV. We play a little soccer in the backyard. We smoke crack together. All bonding activities between father and son. Quote, sharing a crack pipe with your 5-year-old is no way to bond. It's not? That sentence is almost as stupid as giving a 5-year-old crack. The mom's being held on $25,000 bail. $25,000 bail. I got a better idea. How about the electric chair? How about that bail? How about a death needle? You mean a woman who gives her 5-year-old son crack gets to get out of jail at some point? Why, so she can teach him how to shoot heroin next? So she can make another run at killing the poor kid? Let's keep moms who give crack to their 5-year-olds locked up. I don't think that's a hell of a lot to ask. I got to think that that's an adjustment or an amendment to the judicial system that we need to make. Crack's crack. There's a motto to live by. Crack's crack. And if you give it to a 5-year-old kid, you can't come out of jail. Ever. For any reason. Bad enough that you yourself smoke crack, you should be in jail a long time yourself for that. But much, much worse that you pass that glass deke over to a 5-year-old kid. For that, you can't get out of jail. He did it so I saw smoke coming out of his mouth. Yeah, well, that's quite excellent. Bruno. Bruno resides in Chicago. Bruno, what's up?
Hey, Jim, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Bruno.
Hey, Jim, we got a couple takes here. ESPN Radio 1000 Monkey. Not only do we want Romy to stand here, but we want our third hour. Hey, Jim, the other day I was flipping through channels on the cable, and I came across Cher and Joan Rivers both talking something. I have a question. When did they become Oriental or Asian? Hey, Jim, you're taking the Lady Beach volleyball.
All right, listen up. You people are losing track and losing ground. If you want to have a take, it can't relate to somebody's ethnicity or their religion or their race. Personally, I was always under the impression that I hosted a sports show, not a convention of bigots. What's going on around here? I don't want your takes on Asians or whatever. It's not funny. Where are you going with this? Stop doing it. I don't condone it. I'm not going to tolerate it. You're making the show in the world a worse place. You got to know better. If you know me and you know this show, why would you think that I think that's funny? Hey, I know what I'll do. Bruno, you slipped up. You've called this show before. You know better. I know there's a certain population out there that's probably sitting at work right now, hate their job, hate their life, got nothing good going on, have nothing better to do, and think to themselves, yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'll do. And before they do it, they bust a phone call to a few of their boys, and they say, watch this. And then they basically say something stupid and inflammatory, and they're jerking off. And then they do it on my show, and I bring the hammer down, and I get angry, and then they call their boys, like, yeah, you hear that, you hear that? You know, they roll tapes, they play it over and over again, they laugh to themselves because they got nothing else going on in their lives. I get that, I understand that, that's always going to be there. Just so you know, I get that. I see you working. I know what you're up to. I know your life sucks. I know your job sucks. Theoretically, I know I'll always deal with that. I can never fully eliminate that. But just so you know, I know. Just so you know. We'll come back with more. I can honestly say the open phones in hour number 2 today was not a good idea.